Okay, so the floor is wet, and I'm going to let it sit here for a few minutes. I've completely saturated it with just plain water. I don't use the soap. One thing I guess I would say is to use hot water and just let it work, let it set in, let it soften up the glue. Give it about 5 minutes or so. Let it it'll start to soak into the concrete a little bit, so you may have to apply some more water, but keep it wet. And after a few minutes, give it a little test scrub and see if that glue starts coming up. I'm going to go ahead and try to scrub it with one arm here while I hold the camera, since I don't have anybody to hold the camera for me, and we'll see here if it's ready to come up. Okay, so I've scrubbed that spot there, and it is coming up pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and just pour a little water on it just so I can show you how well it's coming up. Alright, there you go. So, see, it removes all of the glue. And I'll go ahead and I'll do that to the rest of the bathroom here, and when I got two hands going, it doesn't take too long. Once I get it all scraped up and softened up, you got to keep it wet, otherwise it'll dry on you and harden back up. But keep it wet, get it all scraped up, then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so about 10 minutes later, some scrubbing, a little elbow grease, all the glue residue has been loosened, and it's still pretty wet, you can see. The first thing I do before I move on to the next step is I reapply water, because as I'm working across the room, I don't want the other side to start drying up on me because it starts sticking back to the floor again. So all you got to do is just spray a little bit more water on it and then start the next process. Alright, so next step in the process is to start scraping together all of the loose residue that I've worked up with the steel brush. I did use a small steel brush to get close to the walls in the tub here. So now the next step is to scrape this, and how I do that is I use one of these paint edging tools. It seems to work pretty well. You could probably also use maybe a good dustpan that gets nice and flat to the surface, but what I do for this step is just to simply take and start working it across like that. So basically what I'm doing is I'm removing the bulk of the residue and piling it all up in the center. And once I get it all up in the center, I'll take a dustpan and scoop it up into a bucket, and then I'll move on to the next process. Alright, so now what I'm left with is a pile of residue and water, kind of in a soup in the middle here. And I'm going to use that dustpan to clean it all up into this bucket. Alright, did my swoop and scoop technique with the dustpan. Got most of the stuff up, so now I'm going to go and take my carpet and hard floor carpet cleaner and suck up the water here. And I know you're probably thinking, like I did when I first tried it, is it going to ruin the machine or not? Well, you know, I figured that with it being a water-based glue and it softens up so easily that I'll do my best to clean it when I'm done. I'll go and use it on some carpet to try to clean it out, put it through a full cycle with just plain water on the carpet, and that should take care of it. The cleaning, I have used it already for a couple of days. I'm also doing my kitchen and some other rooms that had linoleum. This is the last room I have left. And I haven't had any problems with my vacuum here, my wet vac, sucking it up. I do have a shop vac. I thought about using that, but this is pretty convenient because it'll also spray down the water as it sucks it up, so I can just continue on and do 2, 3 times over the same surface to make sure I get all that glue sucked up. it works really, really well. I'll show you a final product in my kitchen here after I go and suck everything up in the bathroom. And we'll be alright, so I'm all done. I did a couple of times over with the vac here and got it all cleaned up. It looks really good. You can see here in this room there's a lot of paint overspray. I'll be doing this room next and trying out the same process and see how that works. I don't know how it's going to work out since it's paint, but it does seem to soften up and loosen up at first blush, so I'll give it a try. But one thing I just wanted to show you here is I haven't done the toilet room yet because my wife insisted that I don't tear up the only toilet we have left working in the house until I finish the other bathroom. It's probably good advice, but here's a linoleum. So you can see it went from all that glue under there to a completely clean, smooth cement surface, ready for tile or acid etching or whatever you plan to do with it. Alright, I said I was going to show you the kitchen here, which I've already done the other day. It's all dried up. You can see a couple of water spots from the dog's bowls. But it all came up really good, and it's squeaky clean. And then in this room over here, with our breakfast nook area, I just finished this earlier. The concrete's still damp. You can see the line here from where I did yesterday and where I did earlier today. But it's a process that works out pretty good and isn't all that hard if you let the water soak in and loosen up the glue.